Okay, so have you ever paused to really think about the packaging that holds, say, your morning coffee or that juice you grab? It's often something we just use and toss, right?
Yeah.
Without much thought. But today we're going to take a deep dive into something pretty unassuming, but actually revolutionary in the beverage world, the stand-up pouch.
Yeah.
Okay, let's unpack this. We've got, well, quite a stack of sources here, and they really highlight just how versatile, how impactful this type of packaging has become, especially for liquids.
Yeah. And what's really insightful, I think, is seeing how a packaging choice, something seemingly so basic, can actually become a catalyst for, cultural shifts. It's not just a box or a bottle. It's a great example of how innovation, when it hits just right with local habits and economic factors, can go from being just a smarter way to ship things
Hmm.
to a genuine cultural icon, and then how that can feed back into a global trend. So we'll start with the technical stuff, the advantages, then zoom into this really vibrant example in South Korea, and then pull back to look at the bigger picture, the global market.
Right. So these pouches, looking at our sources, what's the first thing that jumps out? Why are they so effective, particularly for beverages? What makes them such a game changer?
Well, fundamentally, it really boils down to their superior sealing and preservation. Unlike a lot of traditional packaging that might just be a single layer, these stand-up pouches use multi-layer composites. And that's not just jargon, it's actually crucial. It stops leaks, protects what's inside from contaminants, which directly impacts shelf life and, importantly, product safety, especially for things like drinks where freshness is key.
Okay, that makes sense for protecting the product. But what about for us, the people using them? What makes them more convenient than, I don't know, a glass bottle or a carton?
Ah, that's where the design really comes into its own. They often have features like little spouts or maybe those resealable zippers. It makes them incredibly easy to handle, to pour from, or sometimes even sip right out of the pouch. Plus, just think about the weight difference. Compared to a heavy glass bottle or even a bulky carton, they're so lightweight and flexible, immediate portability, and that convenience you feel, it actually creates huge ripple effects for businesses too.
Oh, really? So those user benefits link directly to business advantages. How does that work? Tell me more about the cost side.
Absolutely. Yeah. From a business standpoint, the cost savings are pretty significant.
Hmm.
Because they're so light and compact, shipping costs drop dramatically. Our sources mentioned transportation costs can be slashed by like up to 60%. And think about storage. When they're empty, they flatten down. They're incredibly flexible and stackable, way less space than rigid containers. So warehouse efficiency goes way up. It really makes you think, how are businesses really leveraging these adaptable solutions to optimize their whole supply chain?
Okay, so practical benefits, cost savings. What about the environment? Our sources seem to emphasize that too. How do pouches stack up sustainably?
That's a critical point, and it taps right into what consumers increasingly care about, which gives brands a real marketing edge, actually. Pouches generally use significantly less material compared to, say, rigid plastic containers or glass bottles. Less material means less waste. And crucially, we're seeing a big push towards making them from recyclable materials or even biodegradable stuff like compostable films and recycled plastics. It fits much better with that whole circular economy idea.
Do we have any specific numbers on that environmental impact?
Yeah, we do. Flexible packaging like these pouches can cut transportation emissions by up to 50% just because they're lighter and take up less space. Simple physics, really. And their manufacturing process itself often uses less energy compared to making traditional rigid containers. So it's a pretty clear win for brands wanting to, boost their green credentials.
We've covered the practical side, the costs, the environmental angle. But what about when that pouch is sitting on a supermarket shelf, competing for your attention? Does the pouch itself help sell the product? Is packaging just about protection anymore, or is it also a kind of marketing powerhouse?
Oh, definitely the latter. This is where the pouch really becomes more than just a container. It's like a silent salesperson.
Oh.
You can customize the design so much, use really vibrant graphics, and those little transparent windows some have. That's a subtle but powerful psychological thing. It lets you see the product, builds trust, addresses skepticism. It makes the packaging feel like part of the brand's honesty. Plus, the fact they stand up on their own, better shelf visibility. They just grab your eye more easily.
Okay, so we've seen the smart engineering, the business logic behind these pouches, but to really get their power, maybe we should shift focus. Let's go from the technical specs to the streets of Seoul, because there, this packaging didn't just get popular; it became like a whole cultural thing. Let's zoom right in on South Korea's famous convenience store coffee pouches.
Right. In South Korea, this isn't just any coffee. We're talking about these plastic kind of Capri Sun style pouches. They're filled with pre-made, shelf-stable coffee. And the key thing is they're meant to be poured over ice that you buy separately, usually in a cup right next to them. The variety is amazing. You get everything from plain, unsweetened black coffee, iced Americanos, huge, obviously, all the way to sweeter stuff like caramel macchiato, hazelnut, you name it. And even the ice comes in different types. Usually it's that hollow cylinder ice or crushed ice. Sometimes you might see a big single ice sphere, though apparently that's rarer and melts slower, maybe less effective for chilling quickly.
And the whole experience of buying and making it sounds really simple and maybe most importantly, super cheap.
Yeah.
Can you walk us through that little ritual?
Yeah, it's almost like a little routine, a dance. You find the right freezer in the convenience store, grab your cup of ice, then you pick your coffee pouch from the shelf, usually right above the freezer, pay for both. And then comes the best part, that satisfying pour of the coffee right into the cup, usually filling it perfectly to the brim. It's, like you said, not just grabbing a drink. It feels like a tiny, perfectly measured science experiment. And it's so affordable. The pouches are, what, maybe 80 to 95 cents, and the ice cups around 47 to 80 cents. So you're looking at maybe $1.60 total. That's like half, maybe even a third of what you'd pay at a nearby coffee shop. Huge appeal there.
But why did this specific pouch thing explode in Korea? To really
Yeah.
get that, we probably need to look back a bit, right? At Korea's whole relationship with coffee, how did history kind of set the stage?
Yeah, connecting it to the bigger picture is key. Coffee's actually been in Korea for a long time, since the Joseon dynasty. But it really took off, became widespread after the Korean War, partly thanks to American soldiers and the introduction of instant coffee. Then you had Dongsu Foods launch Maxim Coffee Mix back in 1976. That little 3-in-1 stick or pouch made coffee super cheap and accessible for everyone. That really laid the groundwork, normalizing pre-packaged coffee. Think about canned coffee, or even Soul Milk's famous triangle coffee milk pouch. All these things sort of paved the way for the modern pouch coffee trend. It makes you wonder, yeah, how did that long history of convenience and affordability lead specifically to this pouch format taking off?
And the actual pouch coffee we see now, the one that really took hold, that started taking shape around, what, 2005 with Jardin's Caverial, and then later 2012 seems like a key year, with CU convenience stores launching their DLAF line and Lottie Chilsung putting their popular Cantana coffee into pouches too. So given that history, what are the main reasons they got so incredibly popular?
Well, it seems like a few things really came together. First, those Korean convenience stores, they're open 247. Unlike cafes, which often open much later, so for early commuters, it might be the only coffee option available. Huge practical advantage. Second, there's this massive, and I mean massive, obsession with cold drinks in Korea, especially iced Americanos, to the point where there's that popular saying, right? Even if I freeze to death, ah, ah. meaning iced Americano. That trend is just deeply woven into modern Korean life. You see it all over social media, TikTok videos with hundreds of millions of views. It's huge.
That obsession with ice drinks, even when it's freezing outside, is pretty funny. Our sources even mention a link to the hurry culture, like, I need my caffeine fix now and hot coffee takes too long to cool down. It really gives you a feel for the local mindset, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. It's that mix of, pure practicality and these unique cultural quirks that makes these trends stick and become so interesting to look at. And it hasn't stopped at coffee either. Brands have introduced teas, even things like black lemonade in pouch form. And yeah, on social media, people get creative. TikTok is full of mashups adding ice cream or maybe banana milk. Some people even add soju to the ice cup first.
Okay, so we've looked at the pouch itself, the tech, the business side, and then this really deep cultural connection in Korea. But what does this all signal for the wider world, for the global beverage scene? This Korean pouch thing, it's not just some isolated curiosity, is it? It feels like a small window onto a much bigger trend in ready-to-drink coffee.
Exactly. The global ready to drink or RTD coffee market is seeing really significant growth, like truly substantial. It was valued around $14.92 billion just mid 2024, and projections. They see it hitting over $22.8 billion by 2029. That's an 8.89% compound annual growth rate, or CAGR. Basically, strong, steady growth year after year. North America is actually leading that growth, about 57% of it. But the Asia Pacific region is also really strong. Think about Japan, for example. Vending machines there have offered canned coffee for ages. It's a long-standing RTD culture. So the global appetite for convenient coffee isn't totally new, but maybe the formats and the reasons behind it are evolving fast now.
And this RTD coffee growth, it's not happening in isolation, right? It ties into other big coffee trends.
Yeah, it's perfectly positioned. The overall specialty coffee market is huge, projected at over $100 billion by 2030. And within that, cold brew is exploding. It's the fastest growing segment, looking at maybe a 22% CAGR by 2032. It's massive. You see big chains reflecting this too. Starbucks said 75% of their drinks sold in 2023 were cold. Tim Hortons, 40% iced coffees. It's a clear shift in what people want. Cold, convenient coffee options.
So, apart from just being convenient, what are the main drivers behind this global RTD boom? Is it just about speed?
Well, price is definitely a huge factor now, especially with the cost of living going up. Inflation, RTD coffee often comes across as a much cheaper alternative to buying from a coffee shop. Like you might get a premium can cold brew for maybe $4 a serving, but that same brand in their cafe could be $6.50, $7 easily. Or Starbucks cold brew concentrate, you can make servings at home for under $2 versus almost $5 in the store. It really makes you ask, right? Is this mostly younger consumers being more price savvy, or is it just a better value proposition across the board now?
That makes a lot of sense. What about the quality perception? Is RTD still seen as, I don't know, second best compared to a fresh brew?
It's definitely catching up, and delivering better quality is crucial. It fits so well with busy lives, right? Working remotely, grabbing something on the way to the gym. And you can find it everywhere now, convenience stores, supermarkets, online. Instant coffee is also convenient and even cheaper, sure. But RTD often offers that perceived higher quality, which seems to be what younger, maybe more discerning consumers are looking for. It's kind of becoming the best of both worlds, convenience without feeling like you're sacrificing too much on taste.
And one last piece, what about customization? Variety, aesthetics. How does that play into the global RTD market?
Oh, that's significant too, especially for millennials and Gen Z. They seem to constantly seek out new, varied drink experiences. RTD totally delivers here. You see tons of options, different plant-based milks, added functional ingredients, nitro-infused coffees, and they often come in really sleek, eye-catching packaging, perfect for sharing on social media, which is a factor now. And this brings us right back to where we started with packaging innovation. Those sustainable materials we talked about, aluminum cans, BPA-free bottles, compostable plastics like in the pouches, that's a huge draw for eco-conscious consumers too. It adds another layer of appeal.
So we've really seen how this humble stand-up pouch has done so much more than just hold liquids. It's changed packaging logistics, it's making strides on environmental impact,
Hmm.
and it became the central part of a really cool cultural movement in Korea
Yeah.
and a big player in the booming global RTD market. It's quite a journey from a clever piece of engineering to an everyday ritual.
Absolutely. If you connect it all up, it just highlights how innovation, consumer habits, cultural factors, they all kind of weave together. And they can totally reshape whole industries, from something as simple as packaging design all the way to how we get our daily caffeine fix. It really shows how something seemingly small, like a pouch, can create these massive ripple effects.
Yeah, definitely. So maybe next time you reach for a quick cold drink, maybe it's even in a pouch, take a second to think about the complex journey it took to get into your hand and maybe wonder what other everyday items out there might be on the verge of a similar kind of revolution. What stands out to you about this incredible transformation?